Well, hey folks, we're out for another beautiful day here in the Ozarks in south central Missouri. We're on the mighty CFMOTO, our 800 Ibex 800T. We've got it out with us today, and we're going to be running down a little creek here called Rocky Creek. We're just east of Eminence, Missouri a little ways, not too far from the current river, but we're going to look at some of the features along this creek. It's a really pretty area. We're going to talk a little bit about the CFMOTO, our Ibex 800T. If you remember, I bought it about this time last year, so I've got a full season on that bike now. We're going to discuss some of the things, maybe a few of the problems that I've had with it, and some of the things I like and don't like. So stick around, we'll jump on the CFMOTO, we'll go check out some really cool features here in the southern Missouri Ozarks. We got the mighty CFMOTO all dressed out here with my survival gear and my camera gear on the back of it. This looks slick. I see all kinds of moss right here. And it was. So yeah, I haven't had the Ibex out of the garage in quite some time. Had a flat front tire the other day. I went to get on it to go for a ride and the front tire was flat. But I ended up putting a tube in it. The wheel wouldn't hold air. So we got that fixed. Probably have to do the rear wheel before long. It'll probably go to leaking as well. So we're kind of following Rocky Creek. It's just a little creek that runs down through here, makes its way down to the current river. Yeah, the Ibex is always ready to pin you back. It's just a split second away from stretching your arms about any time. Pretty fun bike. What I can't get over is how comfortable it is on the highway and on the road, you know, traveling to wherever you're going or needing to be to ride or whatever. It's just really nice. Here's a washed out spot. This is the crossing here that can be deep. I'm just going to stand up and yeah, it was up over my boots, about halfway up my shins. I got some really wet socks. I mean, they are soaked. They even got a toilet here. That's pretty nice. No let's see, okay to picnic, not okay to camp. We would just call this a day use area, generally speaking. Well, here we are at Rocky Falls. This is basically it's a shut-in, a rhyolite shut-in on the creek here. Rhyolite is a type of rock. It's extremely hard and it doesn't erode very easily. The creek really can't cut it down, so it just backs the creek up until the creek eventually flows over. It just forms a dam. So here we're looking at the creek coming over the rhyolite shut-in, or the blockage of rock of rhyolite. It's pretty sweet. But eventually the creek does make it over and continues on. So here we are on top of Rocky Falls. This is where it starts its descent over the blockage here, over the falls. This rhyolite's pretty cool stuff. It's kind of got a pink color to it. Kind of pink or bluish pink, depending on how the sun is on it. But it's pretty sweet. You see the swimming hole down there. And here's where the creek starts its journey over the shut-in here. So this is Rocky Falls, rhyolite shut-in on Rocky Creek. I'll put it up on the map where we're at here. Really pretty spot. Pretty nice hike up here. It's really beautiful. Here's our trail. Takes us back down off of here. Going down seems to be a lot easier than going up. I seem to be having a blood oxygen situation on the way up, but I don't feel that way at all now. There's our spring pool, or our swimming hole below the falls down there. Well, we've made it back to our bike. Got all my goodies put away. We're ready to head out. We're going to follow this creek down and catch up with it farther out in the government woods. There's an old mill and another smaller shut-in. It's not as near as impressive as this one, but it's a rhyolite shut-in. We'll go look at that as well. Of course, I don't have any keys. Why would you need keys? Not like you're going anywhere. Actually, I'm impressed that I remembered to pull them out of the ignition and take them with me. Normally I come back and my keys are, I go to looking for my keys and they're in the ignition. That ain't cool. Pretty hard to explain to your insurance company where that other key's at when somebody borrows your bike. They don't like it when you don't have both keys and your vehicle's missing. They get suspicious. Get up this. I don't think it's real far down here. 3 or 4 miles, 2 or 3 miles maybe. There's still more rhyolite out here all along this creek. This was an active volcanic area. Magma came up to the surface or close to it on a lot of occasions back in the day. That's where all that rhyolite came from. Klepzig Mill. They put a little sign up here. It didn't used to have a sign. Well, they've got some government gravel in here. It's still white. You can still see the white gravel, but I don't believe it's very fresh. It's probably from last season. They'll get to working on these things when the weather starts warming up. Get over this real easy like. This spike here, when you have to go up something steep and loose, it's a little bit tricky. The throttle mapping can catch you out and you'll end up spinning the rear tire up and not even realize it. All right, we're gonna take this with a little authority right here. Kind of rough. Oh. Well, I bet we don't find anybody down here. We're getting off pretty far off the beaten path. Now here's our second shut-in. Another little batch of plugged up creek. Here we go. Uphill seems to be a more comfortable way to park. I don't know if this is a walking trail or what yeah, it's marked. This is part of the Ozarks Trail. There's a marker up here on this tree. I didn't know it came through here, but it goes everywhere. Here we are on, we're still on Rocky Creek. This is Klepzig Mill. This is a little mill house. And there it is. It was built back in the teens or 19 teens or 20s, I believe. There's a storyboard there we can read. I forget exactly, but it used the creek as a power source. And then we've got a rhyolite shut in on right here. The water's coming down through that. They put a dam in. You can see a gate opening there in that piece that's left. They had a flume that ran out of that over here to the mill. And this dam kind of went across this shut-in, and they used part of the shut-in as the dam, so they didn't have to pour concrete all the way across. They had kind of a natural dam to start with. So the old dam has been knocked out of the main channel out there. and the creek's been returned to its natural state. Really pretty. So the old the flume that used to feed this little mill came out of the dam right there. You can see a square hole. There's a gate in it, a piece of metal, a metal gate in there, got it blocked off, and then it ran towards the mill, and there's another gate right here that the flume ran through, this gate here, and then it continued on over to the mill. And then here is some of the flume. It's kind of falling apart pretty much, but that ran into the mill, and then there was a turbine in a pit inside the mill there that the water powered, and then I believe they sawed lumber here. Here's the storyboard on the mill. I can get out of the shot here. It was built in 1928 by a German named Klepzig. So this is Klepzig mill, and it was a turbine mill. They've got a picture of the old turbine that was down in the sump there. Pretty cool, and it was a sawmill. So they were sawing lumber here. National Park Service has kind of reworked this little mill house. It just about came down. In the 1970s, there just wasn't much left of this little mill house. So they've been working on it, putting it all back together, doing what they can. So here's the inside of the old mill. Pretty simply built out of rough sawn oak. That's what they were sawing here, was oak, hardwoods. But over here is where the sump, this is the top of the sump where the turbine was down in there. We can look at it from the outside. There's an old pulley there, a wheel that the shaft is still in there that drove that wheel right there to power their equipment. We're back here on the business end of the mill, the back where the this column right here, this concrete cylinder that they've poured, the turbine was in the bottom of that, and then they run that water in on top of that turbine and down and then out back into the creek to power that turbine. That's what they ran their sawmill on back in the day. Hey, we're directly under the mill right here on the low end of the mill, and you can see how they stacked up this rhyolite, put a little mortar in there in that rubble rock to make the foundation. You can actually just see through it. You can see daylight through it. The Park Service has done some work to stabilize this thing. They've got a column there and some supports they've put in there. The old rubble rock column that was right here probably failed, so they fixed that. Pretty sweet. That's kind of a cool place right there. Anytime you get down on a creek like this, why, it's going to be pretty nice, pretty good riding. I'm going to stop and look at this. I might even get my feet wet, you never know. Go see how deep it looks. It's one of them deceiving crossings, and the channel is kind of out towards the other side there. And it can be deep and have some big old rocks in it. What a beautiful place. Look at all this rhyolite laying in this creek. That's where it all winds up, down here in the creek when it comes off of the mountains or off of the tops of the hills. Yeah, that hole out there is going to be pretty deep, and it's full of big old rocks. I think I'm going to pass on this today. It's just as pretty going out this way as it is the other, so there's no reason to do it. It's all good. All right. See if we can get turned around without dying. This spike here is a lot easier to handle, like doing this kind of stuff here, where you really have to deal with the weight of the bike. It's actually easier, much less top heavy than the Tiger. as far as being able to handle this thing. And you wouldn't think it if you look on paper. This thing weighs more than the Tiger. It's heavier than the Tiger, but much easier to handle off-road and in gravel and stuff. The weight of the bike's just, it's lower. Lower center of gravity. Whoop, there's a piece of rhyolite trying to make a break for the creek. Almost made it. He's got to get across the road though before he makes it to the creek. Look at all this rock trying to come down. I think the road that we're riding on is this stuff here. Sure what it feels like. Pretty neat spot down here along this little creek. I kind of like it. I don't get over here enough. I need to come back a little more often. If you like riding over giant rocks, I got some of them too. Now Ibex says, come on man, twist the throttle, I'm ready. It's hard not to, you just want to. You want to hear it, feel it. Folks, I appreciate you all hanging out with me, spending the day. We got to see some cool stuff there along Rocky Creek, just east of Eminence, Missouri. We got the mighty Ibex, the CFMOTO Ibex 800T out of the garage and got a few miles put on it as well. So I'm going to head back towards civilization, see if I can find somebody to chuck a cheeseburger at me, and then hot-foot it back to the world headquarters before the sun hits the horizon down here. I invite you all to come back and see me. We'll jump on something and go somewhere else. Till I catch up with you again, you all take care of yourselves. We'll catch you next time.